I know, they're cute.
Yeah.
And it's like, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the acceptance of the minutes for the meeting of March 11th.
Motion to approve.
And second?
All those in favor? Thank you. We'll move on to reports. We have financial reports for the school department, Rockland High School student activities, and Rogers Middle School student activities.
3 motions to approve.
And 3 seconds?
All those in favor? That's a vote. Monthly reports. We have art with Miss Thompson, We have computer technology with Mr. Wells. We have English 9 through 12 with Miss Donovan. We have foreign language with Mrs. Tabers. We have middle school with Mrs. Glynn, middle school with Mr. Griffin, phys ed with Miss Newcomb, consumer science with Miss Newcomb, music with Mr. Piazza, radio, TV station with Miss Breeden, science with Miss DeCanzio, social studies with Mr. McAllister, special education with Mrs. McGonigal, athletic department with Mr. Kimball, math department with Mr. Casagrande. 15 motions.
15 motions to approve.
And 15 seconds.
All those in favor? That's a vote. We'll get right into curriculum corner with Rogers Middle School 8th grade civics teachers, Mrs. Bartoloni and Mrs. LeBlanc, along with the students to present on Supreme Court research, slideshows and essays. Welcome. And Mrs. Schiffer.
Thank you. Good evening. So tonight we have civics students from grade 8. We have Ms. Bartoloni and Ms. LeBlanc. They will be setting them up. They've been working on Supreme Court projects and presentations in class, so they're going to be bringing that to you tonight.
Excellent.
Ms. Bartoloni and Ms. LeBlanc.
Hi.
Hi.
Tonight
Hello.
we are happy to showcase our students' Supreme Court thesis papers and research presentation projects. So students were working in groups to research a Supreme Court case pertaining to a certain topic. They could choose either topic A, cases pertaining to the First Amendment, so any of the rights pertaining to the First Amendment. Topic B, cases pertaining to the 14th Amendment, due process or equal protection. Or topic C, which were cases pertaining to individual rights that were in conflict with national interests. So students would research their topic, then they would take their research and their group members' research, create a 5-paragraph thesis paper, use their research to create a presentation, and then present to their classmates. So tonight you're going to be seeing our students' presentations that they've been presenting in their classes.
Great. Awesome.
And what you guys have in front of you, you'll see basically the assignment sheet as they got it, the mission statement, all of the expectations that we asked of them. We provided the graphic organizer that they do for all of their research. We provided kind of a rough draft outline for them. And actually their papers were due today. When Ms. Schipper asked us if we were interested in doing this is kind of live. You know, we were rolling it out as it was happening, and so we figured why not do something rather that they're doing now rather than something that they did back in October. So if you're interested in seeing some of those papers, would be happy to get them to you so you can kind of have the whole picture. I'm going to invite the first group up and we'll get started. Thank you.
So our first group will be presenting their topic B cases. This is Leah Costa, Abigail Oso, Adeline Almec, and Lila Davey.
The topic we did was the 14th Amendment and due process within the Supreme Court cases.
The 14th Amendment states that no person shall be deprived of their life, liberty, or property because of the different laws created by states, that all people born or naturalized in the U.S. are considered U.S. citizens, and that all people shall have the right to equal protection underneath the law. My case was Roe versus Wade, which happened in 1970 in Dallas, Texas, after Norma McCorvey, who went by Jane Roe for safety reasons, was refused an abortion because they were currently illegal in Texas. She wanted to take Texas to court because she said that it was unconstitutional for them to abandon abortion. And when she brought it to the Supreme Court, they refused an injunction against them, which caused her to bring it to the Supreme Court. The question that she brought to them was, is it unconstitutional for the law to prevent a woman from having an abortion? She believed that Texas's law banning abortions was going against her 14th Amendment because a woman should be able to end her pregnancy at any time, no matter their circumstances. She also stated that it was defacing their privacy and it wasn't a choice with her body. Eventually, they did side with Roe with the 7-2 ruling, along with Wade coming to the conclusion that a woman's pregnancy is the individual's business, even though they originally believed that she had no medical need, so she shouldn't be able to have one. Even though the court did rule in Roe's favor, they didn't fully agree with Roe's claims about abortions and insisted that a woman's rights should be balanced with the regulations of the federal government. This case has massive impacts on women's lives all around the United States since the verdict of this case was created. After the initial ruling, it set a precedent for the rest of the cases discussing abortion further. This verdict was used in many different court cases and even the Supreme Court cases up until 2022, which it was overturned with a 6-3 vote and now allowed states to plan bans on abortions and to create laws preventing them.
The case I did was Board of Education versus Earls. This was located in Oklahoma. It started in March 19th of 2002 and ended June 27th of 2002. The people that were involved in this was the school board and Lindsay Earls. The events that led up to the case was that the school created a policy to all students in extracurricular activities needed to take a drug test. Lindsay and her family said it was an unlawful search and it violated students' rights to privacy. The question that was brought before the Supreme Court was the drug testing a violation to the students' privacy that participate in these extracurricular activities? The main amendment was the Fourth Amendment that was argued, but the secondary argument was the 14th. The school board won the case in a 5-4 vote. Some of the arguments was that the school must have some identifiable drug abuse problem among enough of these students that take these tests. Another argument was that it was explained that the results weren't given to the police and that the only real consequence was they couldn't participate in their sports. Why the court ruled the way they did was because they found that the people that took these drug tests had a limited expectation of privacy, and they found that the drug testing itself was a significant invasion of privacy, and the only real consequence was not being able to participate in their sports. The importance of the case is that the court agreed that the policy served the board's interest in protecting the safety and health of their students. I agree with this, with the court's decision how the court decision affected people's lives is it ended up requiring students to consent to be able to give these drugs tests out to these students.
My case was Lau versus Nichols. Lau was a student at San Francisco schools, and Nichols was the president of the school board. It happened in 1974 of California. San Francisco schools were just integrated, and there was 2,900 non-English speaking students. More than half of those students were not provided English teaching language classes, and Lau was one of those students and filed a lawsuit. The issue before the Supreme Court was, does the school district violate the 14th Amendment or Civil Rights Act of '64 when it teaches exclusively in English and fails to provide non-English speaking students with any English teaching? The amendment or law argued was Lau claimed that the school violated their 14th Amendment and Civil Rights Act of '64, which restrains discrimination based on national origin, race, or color in any activity. The arguments were the school district didn't give students English language teaching classes, and that this violated the 14th Amendment and Civil Rights Act of '64. Nichols, the president of the school district, argued that it did not violate either of those two. The student Lau won, and the Supreme Court decided that the case did not did violate the 14th Amendment and Civil Rights Act. The court ruled this way because it violated all of which law argued, but it also violated the California Education Code. The court also thought this way because it prevents equal opportunities in public education. The long-term effects were the court affected others' lives by helping students that speak other languages get the same education as English-speaking students, and it had a large impact on the students that cannot speak English, and it changed lots of rules and codes for different school districts all around the country. It helps provide more education for students that aren't as fortunate as others, and it helps students that are moving to the United States.
My case was Oberfell versus Hodges. The case was decided in 2015. Who was involved was Jim Oberfell, Richard Hodges in the Supreme Court, and the case opened on July 19th in 2013 in the state of Ohio. Oberfell's husband died, and his name was not put on the death certificate, and he was deprived from his benefits. So Oberfell sues Hodges, who's the director of the Department of Ohio, and the case was brought to the Supreme Court. The question brought upon the Supreme Court was, marriage is a fundamental right, so why should any law deny a specific group of people of getting married? The 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause and Due Process Clause was argued in the court. Oberfell's arguments were that refusal to recognize same-sex marriage violates the Due Process and Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, marriage is a fundamental right, and he argued that it was a similar situation as Loving v. Virginia, explaining that marriage cannot be denied because of their differences. Hodges' arguments were that the Constitution does not define marriage, marriage laws should be made by the state, and laws banning same-sex marriage weren't discrimination since marriage is supposed to be between a man and a woman. Oberfell won the case in a 5-4 decision of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled this way because marriage is a fundamental right, and state bans on same-sex marriage is in violation of the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. The case didn't majorly change anyone's life, except it made people in the LGBTQ plus community able to marry who they want. It caused majority of the LGBTQ plus community in the U.S. to be happier, and it involves today's issues because many state lawmakers create many bills that target the rights of LGBTQ plus people. To conclude, the 14th Amendment and the due process of law is important because of the protection, safety, and equality that allows all the United States citizens to have. Not only does it protect the people, but it also plays an important role in achieving justice for those who are wronged by the government.
Thank you.
Wait, ladies, great job. I just wanted to say thank you. Those were awesome presentations and outstanding cases that you had to follow. What do you think that some of the things that you learned by those cases? Anyone? Nothing. Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot. Thanks for presenting. You did a great job. Seth?
While we figure out where the rest of the slides went, let's invite Joel Costa, Liam McClory, and John Vittoria. These boys studied cases involving national interest, cases involving individual rights. There we go. Because I'm plagued with no internet.
It's because we're live. And this is what happens in real life. There it is.
So the things that we studied were Supreme Court cases involving individual rights and national interests.
Our cases were based on topic C, which were cases that violated individual rights.
The case I did was Korematsu versus the United States. The people involved were Fred Korematsu and the United States government. In 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. Because of this, the U.S. tried to relocate thousands of Japanese Americans into camps. Fred Korematsu did not agree with this and rebelled and did not go to the camps. The question of the case was the military's exclusion order justified? The law argued was the Fifth Amendment, which was the right to due process and civil liberties. The United States won the case with a 6-3 decision. The court ruled the way they did because in times of war, American safety as a matter of national society was more important than one ethnic group. The arguments of the case was that FDR's execution order, Korematsu's argument was that FDR's executive order of 9066 violated his Fifth Amendment right. The U.S. has argued that the relocation of Japanese Americans was a matter of national security. This case was important because it allowed the United States to violate citizens' rights in times of war. It meant to the people to the Japanese Americans that lost the case, it meant that him and his family were affected because they were relocated. This decision happened through legalized racism, because of legalized racism. I do not agree with this. I don't agree with the Supreme Court's rule because it's not fair or reasonable to discriminate just based on race.
The case that I studied was Escobedo versus Illinois. Danny Escobedo and the state of Illinois was involved. It happened in 1964 in the state of Illinois. Danny Escobedo was arrested and taken to a police station for questioning in Illinois. Over several hours, the police refused Escobedo's repeated requests to see a lawyer. Escobedo confessed to murder and appealed the affirmation of his conviction of murder by the Supreme Court of Illinois. The Supreme Court of Illinois held that the petitioner's confession had been admissible, even though it was obtained after he had requested and had been denied the assistance of counsel. The question of the case was Escobedo denied the right to counsel as guaranteed by the Sixth Amendment? The Sixth Amendment was argued in this case, which is Americans' right to a lawyer. Escobedo won the case. The vote was a 5-4 decision authored by Justice Goldberg. The court ruled that Escobedo's Sixth Amendment rights had been violated. The court ruled the way it did because it reasoned that the period between arrest and indictment was a critical stage at which an accused needed the advice of counsel perhaps more than at any other. Escobedo's argument was that his Sixth Amendment right was breached when he wanted a lawyer. The police's argument was that they were not obligated to let Escobedo get a lawyer. This case is important because now when someone is in the custody of law enforcement, he or she has a Sixth Amendment right to speak to an attorney regardless of financial standing. The Supreme Court's decision meant that Escobedo's judgment was reversed and remanded for further proceedings. It also meant that all people in custody now have a right to counsel. I agree with how the Supreme Court ruled.
So the case I did was John versus Ohio, and the people involved was John Terry versus the state of Ohio. It happened in 1968. Terry and his friends were walking through Cleveland, looking inside of corner stores. Terry and his friends were stopped and frisked and they had guns and got arrested. Officers searched them in suspicion of robbery. The question of the case is Was the search and seizure of Terry and the other men in violation of the Fourth Amendment? The amendment argued is the Fourth Amendment, and the Fourth Amendment states that no unreasonable searches and seizures can happen. The winner of the case was Ohio, and it was an 8-1 vote. The court ruled this way because they found that the search reasonable under the Fourth Amendment, because the officers acted on more than just a hunch. Terry argued that the officers had no right to search the man, said that it was unconstitutional, while Cleveland argued that they were acting suspicious near stores and made it look like they were about to conduct a robbery. The importance of the case is that it allows police to stop and frisk people if they have suspicion. Terry lost his case, and this now means that he has a record in his name. The court found that searches like this were limited and designed to protect the public. I disagree with the ruling because I believe that his Fourth Amendment was violated, even though he hasn't committed any crime.
In conclusion, we feel as though our topic is important in Supreme Court history because citizens' individual rights should not be in conflict regardless of their race or suspicion, if they're suspicious.
Great. Thanks, gentlemen. Great job. Great cases.
Well done.
I won't ask any questions this time. Went over.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
I think they deserve a little maybe extra credit for coming tonight to present. Okay, well, this is good practice then.
All right. Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're all allowed to go home and work on the rest of your homework and have dinner. All right. Well, that was fun and exciting. Now we're back to reality. Old business, Phelps Elementary School update.
So we had our meeting over Zoom last week, and we had discussion regarding the softball field, how it is underway or planning to be underway for a new field, fencing. They also approved money to spend on fencing, so there wasn't any sports equipment going into each other's fields for safety. And then we're also still having conversations regarding a snack shack or concession stand or something along those lines down by the turf field. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. We'll move to Rockland High School and Bridges Student Handbook changes for approval. First reading, Dr. Harrison is here with us tonight. Are you ready to have some of those kids next year, or probably all of them?
I think we're going to be lucky. They did a
agree.
great job.
I did too.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here tonight. We actually do not have many handbook changes. First, for Rockland High School, the only change I'm recommending for next year, and this has been vetted out through our Senate Leadership Council, which is our student leadership group, and our Site Council, which is our parent, student, and faculty group. The only recommended change I'm making, and this really comes from my network of principals that I work with, is adding a policy for artificial intelligence. I'm happy to read the policy to you, but maybe I'll just summarize it since it's only a first reading. The policy basically just speaks to artificial intelligence, defining what it is. It also gives examples of what artificial intelligence students are using or staff are using. It really just talks about the spirit of the policy is artificial intelligence is here. You're not supposed to use it on any graded assignment. However, if you ask a teacher for permission, if you wanted to use it as a learning tool or for a study aid, that's appropriate as long as you get the teacher's permission. Because there are things like if you're reading Shakespeare and you want to study for a test, and you can type in, write a summary of Act 1, Scene 5 in Shakespeare, and that may be appropriate if the teacher says, yeah, you can do that if you're studying for the test, because it may help you as you annotate the harder reading of Shakespeare. That's pretty much the policy. Just encourages students to be careful and ask in advance for permission. The consequences for artificial intelligence, it really just falls under our cheating policy, so it's a 0 for a first-time infraction, referral to the office for a second or third infraction. I've seen teachers already start to approach students with artificial intelligence violations. They tend to give a student a warning because it's so new. This policy will just give them a backing in how they handle these situations. The Bridges Academy has 2 changes. One is the artificial intelligence policy would be added to Bridges Academy as well. And the second change for Bridges Academy is basically acknowledging that next year we would have a grade 11 and grade 12 cohort. And what that would do is it just changes the bell schedule. So the bell schedule that we currently have is at the bottom of the overview handout. At the top is what we would be changing it to. And the reason why it's very slightly changed is because we have 4 cohorts and we have 3 teachers. So we have to, there are periods during the day where we have to merge 2 of the cohorts. So you'll see, I don't know if on yours it's blue, but there's a grade 9 and 10 cohort that would get merged at 2 periods a day. And then the grade 11 and 12 students are only with us until 11:30 because they'll go and do their internships and work study. So that's the only change to Bridges. The bell schedule is just slightly different because we have 4 cohorts with 3 teachers. So each teacher couldn't have their own cohort, which is fine because the numbers are still small. There's 24 kids in the program. That is it for changes for Bridges and the high school.
All right. Any questions, ladies?
My only comment would be adding the artificial intelligence to probably the middle school handbook as well, when it comes time, or no?
Something to mention?
Yeah, just because I feel like maybe across the board, elementary school, probably they're not there yet, but middle school, I could see it happening as well. But besides that, it's kind of freaky that we need to add this in.
I know, right?
But
It is.
the way of the world.
It's true.
Anything else? Anyone? No? All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Harrison.
Do you think we should just approve or?
If everyone's comfortable to just approve it, we can certainly approve it, then he doesn't have to come back,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, go ahead.
Motion to approve the 2024-2025 RHS student handbook changes?
Second.
And that is for Bridges and for the high school.
Correct, yes.
Okay. That's a first and a second. All those in favor? That's a vote. Perfect. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to FY24, FY25 capital update.
Thank you. I just wanted to update you all that the selectmen last week with Mr. Lapp did go forward with our $1,932,605 list of capital improvements and the utilization of free cash for FY24 and FY25 for SPED, fostering and homeless. So the spreadsheet, just shows you the differences. The tiny little numbers up there that.
Can certainly not see that.
They teach us that, so they know. so we-
No one questions it.
Right.
Everyone at home, get out your spectacles.
But the high school, middle school is the only one of 2 that went up, and that is because the actual contract bid came in. And remember, will complete our vestibule project, and the vast overwhelming majority of this funding has come from ARPA, which is federal relief funding. So this is just a final supplement of free cash to complete that project. We did reduce the security camera replacement project in order to get the additional funds utilization in the operating budget, and we're going to make that a 3-year request going forward. And Mr. Wells is working with individual principals and identifying the areas of highest priority. The HVAC and the electrical upgrades at the Eston School, this was a reduction. This is another project that we're using. We have IDAQ funds, which is another federal relief grant due to our demographic high-needs population. We were eligible for an approximate $462,000 grant. We're matching this with $500,000 in free cash and hoping to improve the HVAC and the required electrical upgrades. To improve the air quality, yes, but also to try to bring some cooling into that building. That building is
Hot.
and we're trying to address that, and we need the electrical in order to do that. We did remove the roof from this project. We had asked both you and the selectmen to go forward with the request for us to go forward to the MSBA program. We have decided to put that on hold for one more year. That program will still be available to us next January, and we're going to look at doing it then and just focusing on this component first. The Chromebooks and IT upgrades, I think I had mentioned to you before that we historically have done since for 6, 7, 8 years, $100,000 every year for IT-related items that evolved into Chromebooks. And then during COVID, we had grant money for the Chromebooks. There is no more grant money for the Chromebooks, and we now need, in order to maintain our one-to-one program, we need to go on a replacement schedule every year. The cost of Chromebooks are up. So actually replacing the number that we need is going to cost $140,000. However, we also use the free cash appropriation to fund other IT-related activities during the course of the year. So that's why it's went from $140,000 to $200,000. And that is an increase from $100,000 from the previous year.
Right, okay.
And then with the transportation, with the vans under transportation, our initial request was for 150 in FY '25, and we have modified that because we have found 2 vans that we can purchase used, and we're going to be hiring. And these are not the school buses, so to speak, that you see around with the special seat belts or handicapped equipped. These are predominantly Sienna caravans that can be used to transport foster and homeless. They don't need any additional medical assistance, but they do need to comply with all the rules and regulations of 7D. One of these we purchased from our lease company. We've been on an extended lease. We've been paying $764 a month on a lease. We're able to now purchase it, reduce that lease payment, and actually that will add another vehicle to our fleet with the purchase of the second one. And that one we're buying from a vendor who had one become available, a very good price, very good opportunity, and it's coming all painted 7D equipped. So this will have an immediate impact on our fleet. And then just a little bit off to the side, but related is while we were negotiating, Noel Novio and I, with our lease company, the lease that they said could take anywhere, the replacement vehicles that they said could take anywhere up to 3 years, actually we're now expecting that we're going to have in May. So we're going to have, although that's going to increase our monthly lease payment, it's going to reduce our maintenance because when we extended the lease, we assumed responsibility for the maintenance of the vehicles, and that's proven to be a little bit on the expensive side. So we're very pleased that these are coming in substantially earlier than anticipated, and it's also a very good indicator for the FY25 leases that will be expiring and FY26 leases that will be expiring, that there's going to be a quicker turnaround time in obtaining new vehicles, and we won't have to go into the extended lease scenario. So, but we did request, because the 2 vans were available now, that Mr. Lapp put it in the FY24 town meeting, not in the 25, and then the $100,000 for the lease vehicles will be in FY25's free cash.
If I could just interject, for anyone who's wondering why we're buying vans when we're in a budget shortfall situation, I just want to point out, we're buying vans to reduce the amount of money we are paying to private outside companies that transport our children. So for every van we can purchase and driver we can hire, we save substantial amounts of money.
Correct.
Over time. So that's why we are buying our own vans when possible. We're trying to save money because those private transportation companies are incredibly expensive. So for every van we can get and student we can transport ourselves, we save the district and the town a tremendous amount of money. So that's why we're buying vans.
Correct, $300 to $700 a day per student.
We have some students that we are spending $700 per day to transport.
It also
That's
gives
true.
us control of the schedule
Right.
and the time.
And when you-
Absolutely.
Correct, and when you see our traditional sped vans,
Right.
those are providing our in-house transportation
Right.
for our students who are going to our sub-separate programs within our district. So we transport those within district. And there are some out-of-district vehicles that we use as well, but we do the driving when they need with the specialized vehicles.
I have a question. The vans, is there only usually one student on the vans? Or is it-
Yes, sometimes there are two. There are some that we are able to combine, but due to IEP requirements, privacy requirements, et cetera, we cannot ride share
Okay.
in many circumstances. In some we can. We have two going to, I forget the school escapes me right now, but we do have two students going to one of our out-of-districts placement. We have families, homeless families, who we're transporting the entire family, in the van. And I'd say we have probably 6 routes that have more than one individual, in the van. And then our in-house is full,
Right.
to the in-district, and frequently doing double runs. So, on the lower left-hand side, these are the 3 changes that we're not going forward with. We removed the lighting for the middle school, high school. Right now, everything is working, and we still have a relationship with the vendor that we don't think is going to go away. The Eston School, we were looking at paving the driveway in the circle in the parking lot. We removed that request, and the regulation track is going to go forward for evaluation of feasibility, but the funding for that is going to come through the Community Preservation Act rather than through free cash.
Parks Department is
I was
pursuing
gonna just
that.
say, the Parks Department is
Yep.
going down that road, as long as someone is.
Yep.
And then with Eston, the paving, is there any smaller repairs that can be made to the driveway?
Yes, we do a lot of patching, and we're doing
Yeah.
painting of crosswalks. And so, right now, in the spring throughout the district. This has been on the list since I came.
Right, we've been kicking it down the road for years.
But really, we prioritize the interior
Right.
of Eston with the opportunity to bring the young ones in, as, Mrs. Shan constantly, right, they're
Yeah.
little ones, and we try to make it as little as possible within a big school. So really, we prioritized our resources, and the town was very generous last year in helping us do that. Now we really need, as Dr. Khan says, to make this capital investment in the Eston School as the last old building in the district, and to provide this electrical upgrade in order for us to be able to support the other improvements that really need to be made at Eston. So it's hard. There are a lot of
Yeah.
needs, and it's the last building, and it would be wonderful, and I think it would be enjoyed not just by the folks who go to the preschool and the kindergarten, but also by the town at large who use that field for soccer, every
And the
week.
new playground.
And a new playground, and so,
We'll get there, we'll get there.
we'll get there.
We're just not getting there yet.
I just want to again emphasize and thank Doug Lapp and the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen for their support and for their flexibility.
Correct.
We've made a number of changes as the budget has come in and the budget numbers from the state, and we've moved a lot of things around. Obviously, you can't do everything, so we're trying to prioritize the best we can, and they've been very flexible and supportive, and we appreciate that very much.
All right. Any questions, ladies?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you for presenting again.
Thank you.
We don't need a vote.
No, I don't believe you do, because there's nothing on there that you haven't voted. There's some amendments to it, but I don't think it
That's what I
needs to
thought.
be voted.
All right. And we'll move on to new business, the summer camp proposal for approval for Phelps Summer Program.
Correct, the flyer will be coming shortly, very exciting time. It'll be really the exact same program as it has always been, with the exception of the hours of operation are going to change to 8 to 4:30. That is the most common time, in attempting to staff from 7 in the morning until 6:30 at night was becoming
Hard.
problematic. So we're going with the core, 8 to 4:30. Staff will come in a little bit earlier, some will stay a little bit later, but also all staff will be working. There'll still be free lunch, free snack. There's a 3-day minimum, $8 an hour, and a $35 registration fee. More information to come, but I do believe, because of the change in the hours of operation, that this does require a vote.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the Phelps Summer Program, if no one has any questions, of course.
No, I'd just like to add that it's 8 to 5, not
8 to
8 to,
5?
right? The hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Sorry, let me pull it up. I had 8 to 4.
Okay,
30.
Yep.
You had 8 to 4:30, right?
unless
That's
I'm
it.
reading.
No, you're reading it
Okay,
right,
all
Emily.
right.
It says a small amount of staff will remain on site until 5 PM pending enrollment.
We can edit this downtime out later.
Because it does say early drop-off
Does
at
anyone have a joke?
7:30 and late pickup time of 5, so maybe
Yeah,
there's the.
probably the core times,
Right.
Okay.
8 to 4:30.
The interim director will work from 8 to 4:30, and the small staff will remain on site till 5 PM.
Look at my team, putting up the numbers.
I have Monday through Friday, 8 AM to 4:30.
I wonder if that's the core hours, but then it says 7:30, and maybe it's the 7:30 to 8. There's a half-hour window on each side of those core hours for
That's what it
early and late
sounds like
drop-off.
from what you have.
I don't know, it just, there does seem to be a little.
Do you want to table this and
Well,
we'll
we
confirm
table
it
it.
and
I
we'll
don't
put it
know,
on the
yeah.
next
Yeah,
meeting?
just
No,
sure.
let's
That's
just table it.
And the flyers,
So
and the
that the
flyers
public
coming
has-
out. Yep.
yeah,
So
so
we
Yes.
can have, we can
let's
match it,
clarify.
we can match it, my apologies.
No worries. I'd rather be right than vote again, so don't worry about it. Okay. Good catch, Emily. All right. We will then move on to Dr. Cron's superintendent's report.
All right, do any of you have Mamma Mia on your list?
Jamie?
You do.
I was gonna say I didn't see it, but I heard it was fabulous,
I
so
just
I
wanted-
wanted to
yeah.
sing congratulations,
Wanted to-
and I hope that I make the next one. So go for it,
What
Dr.
you
Cron.
said, exactly what you said. Congratulations to the drama department on a very successful production of Mamma Mia. I would also like to congratulate 14 Rockland High School juniors and seniors who earned the Massachusetts State Seal of Biliteracy this past week. And the Seal of Biliteracy is for any student who demonstrates proficiency in English and any other language, whether they speak the non-English language at home or learn it at school in the community. So to earn this Seal of Biliteracy, you must earn a passing score on the English Language Arts Grade 10 MCAS and an intermediate to high proficiency on the ACT-FL placement test on each of the 4 categories: speaking, writing, reading, and listening. So our 14 students passed this test in English and in Portuguese. So all 14 students will be awarded a plaque at the end of the year during the award ceremony and have a special seal on their high school transcript. So congratulations to those 14 students. That is amazing. And I would also like to remind everyone that MCAS testing for grade 10 is Tuesday and Wednesday this week. And for the first time, we are offering the SATs during this time as an option. So that is a new thing that's available. And 46 Rockland High School students have signed up to take their SATs this week. So good luck to them, and good luck to everyone taking the MCAS as well. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. I wish them luck as well. We'll start with you, Jamie. You got nothing? Oh, hope first, yes. Sorry, hope. I have about hope, so I think that's what
hope on the bottom.
I do, but that's why, because I was going to talk about hope, so I went right over hope. Go ahead, hope.
I don't have anything to add anyway, so.
Okay. You read my mind. There you go. You have nothing now?
Well, I wanted to say good luck to all the athletes starting spring sports. I know they've had tryouts and practices over the last week, and I think there was a Meet the Coaches night tonight. So good luck to all of those. And art department stuff, which I know the art festival, we're a little far off, is May 1st and 2nd, giving people a good long time frame in order to add that to your calendar. It's always a great, fun event.
All right.
That's it.
Emily?
I would just like to add that Phelps clothing bins have moved to, from Jefferson to Phelps. And for this month, while everyone's doing their spring cleaning, they are trying to collect 2,500 pounds of clothes. I dropped off
2,500 pounds.
almost 2,500. I think I hurt my back putting it in, so be careful. So you can drop your clothes off in the bin, and if the bin is full, make sure that your bag is tied nice and tight and can be left right next to the bins for the staff in the morning. And that's all I have.
All right. Melissa?
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay, I do. Let's get my phone open here. All right. Congratulations to the 2024 Ruben and Lizzie Grossman Foundation Award recipients, Megan Guston and Hope, our very own, who were recognized for their outstanding leadership for service.
That is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
That is a big, big deal.
So, see, we get to sit at the table with her. We are honored.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And that's all I have.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
And second.
All those in favor? That's all right. Thank you.
Congratulations.